Hey everyone, my name is Jason. I'm a community manager at Coffee Stain Studios. Today I'm joined by another member of the team that we haven't showcased really before. And this is Tobias, one of our programmers who worked on the drones. Hello, Tobias.
Hello everyone. Like Jay said, I'm one of the programmers here at Coffee Stain Studios, and I was responsible for implementing the drones in Satisfactory for Update 4.
Everyone's favorite little feature, the little flying drones.
Yes.
So for those who don't know what the drones are exactly, you know, if they weren't aware, what are they? What do the drones do in Satisfactory?
Drones are an aerial vehicle which can transport resources over longer distances. So the way they work is you put down 2 drone ports, you connect them together, and you slap a drone on one of them, and then the drone will fly back and forth between those stations, delivering resources.
Ah, very cool. And you say that they're aerial vehicles. Does that mean we can pilot them as players?
No, sadly not.
Destroyer of dreams.
Yeah, that's how it goes here.
Okay, so I'm curious as to like what the basic development progression was like. So when you first started, what were the first like challenges that you faced or decisions that you had to make when looking into drones to begin with?
So when we first started working on them, we were talking a lot about how we should make them fly in the world, if we could even have them fly through the world at all. So a couple of different ideas we suggested or talked about was, for example, having predetermined flight paths. But that kind of becomes tricky because the player can essentially build anywhere they want in the world. And another solution we thought about was having them just behave like the normal dropship at the hub, which just goes up into space and down at the other location.
That kind of would have been a little boring, I guess.
It would have, yeah.
In that case, so I guess we have found a solution for them to fly through the world.
We have, yes. So early on, I just started prototyping some stuff, and I basically came up with a solution where they don't really have to fly through the world. They just have to fly above it. I made a system that I like to call the world grid. And the world grid is basically a giant grid of squares covering the entire map. And then each square in that grid keeps track of its highest location in the world. So the drone uses this in order to find the shortest routes through the world, but also flying as low as possible, basically.
So it's like a rough approximation, I guess.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
What's happening. Okay. Or is just fly over it. It'll be fine.
Just fly over it. It's all good.
and so if they're gonna fly, just fly up into the air, how do they navigate? Like, how do they deal with things that might be above them? Do you care about that or?
Well, basically, no. They don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
So when they go up and down from the stations, they just actually fly through everything until they get to the top of the grid where they can fly however they want.
Right, and they can start responding to the height calculations of the world grid.
Exactly.
Yeah. And does the world grid take into account players' buildings and stuff as well, or is it only what's in nature?
It does, actually. Yeah. So when you build in the world, it will actually keep track of your buildings as well. So if you build like a giant tower, the drone will instead try to fly around the tower or above it if it's easier through the magic of pathfinding.
I'd like to challenge people to see how high they can make a drone fly by building really wide and high at the same time.
Yeah, just build like a giant Game of Thrones wall or something.
Yeah, something like that. You mean the ice wall, the one that's surrounding the entire planet?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the drones they specialize carrying things over a long distance, right? And they use batteries to do this.
They do. They eat batteries.
All right, yeah. So could you sort of just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So in order for the drone to be able to fly, you need to supply it with batteries. And depending on how far it has to fly, you have to supply it with more batteries. So there's a baseline cost of like 4 batteries, I believe, currently. So in order to fly at all, you need to give it 4 batteries. And then for every, let's say, 1,000 meters, I believe, then it costs an extra battery as well. So the price in batteries increases over distance as well.
So, but it becomes more efficient the further it flies. That makes
exactly
because there's like the base that you pay for.
Yeah. So the base is because the base is so it's such a high value with 4 batteries. Flying shorter distances is more or less cost effective, I should say.
Right. And so what if your path changes? Like if it's only 1,000 meters, but then I build a massive wall, and now it has to go a different way. Does that change the battery consumption?
It does not. We thought about doing that at first, where we would just calculate the cost of batteries depending on the path the drone takes. But we ended up just taking the distance between the stations and then basing it off that instead.
Okay. And when are the batteries used? Are they? Is it used up sort of like? Is the 4 in the beginning used up immediately, or?
We actually talked a lot about how they should consume the batteries. If it should be like over time, or if it should be when it docks at a station. And I think we ended up deciding that once you dock at a station, it consumes batteries for that trip between those two stations.
Okay, so it consumes it all after the fact.
Yes, exactly. So contrary to what some people believe, where if you have a dock just circling around the station, just waiting to dock, it won't actually drain any more batteries.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. That's good to know. Apparently there might be some bugs with battery consumption. Is that a thing that I think people pointed out or something, or has that been fixed?
I don't think we've ever had a bug in our game, to be honest. Not that I've seen.
All right, moving right on. Moving on.
No, but yeah, there might be something there where it displays the wrong battery consumption. But I think it should be fixed by now. We might have to double check that.
Should TM.
Yeah.
What are some of like the biggest challenges that you had when working on the drones? Was there anything that like really threw a wrench in the works, or was it like overall kind of just smooth sailing as you developed them?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of challenges with it because it's such a big feature. You basically need to keep in mind everything that can go wrong as you're working on it. So, for example, what happens if you dismantle all the stations in the world and then you just have your drone stuck in the air? What happens if you dismantle a drone which is docked at a station? And all kinds of things like that. And even just like having two drones arrive at the same station at the same time, what should happen in that case?
So it's all about like those weird edge cases, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And you need to keep them all in mind at all times during development as well.
Right. Sounds rough. So I guess it was that and the pathing, I guess, was the other biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just making them work in general. So there's a lot of moving parts to this feature.
Nice. Must feel good to have got it all together.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I've seen like a lot of people wondering if they'll be able to ride on the drones. Will they be able to do that? Have we thought of that? What happens if you do it now?
Well, basically no. We talked about it a bit as well, and of course, the first instinct anyone has when they build a drone is just to try and get on top of it and see what happens. Currently, it doesn't go so well. It just kind of flings you off into the distance if it turns too sharply. And the reason we don't want people to ride it is because we feel like it would be too strong, and it would kind of eliminate the other methods of transportation in the game, such as hypertubes or other vehicles, because it kind of makes it too easy to travel around the map.
Yeah, for sure.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And what future plans do we have for drones, if there's any that you know of?
Currently, I don't think we really have any plans as of right now, apart from maybe smaller improvements, like maybe making them fly better in the air, like making it look better as they fly and things like that. But no real like gameplay additions as far as I know.
Boo! Lasers! Add lasers to the drones! So, I believe we have some work in progress footage. Let's take a look.
So what this is kind of the first implementation of the drones. Very beautiful, just a couple of balls flying back and forth, with some programmer art stations as well. And this is just basically having vehicles flying back and forth, transporting items, which is really the first step in order to get these to work.
Exciting.
So this is the first time I think I implemented the world grid pathfinding. So as you can see, it travels from the station up to the sky at the height level of the current square it's in. And then it flies to its destination and then requests to dock at the next station.
Was it like flying around in circles a little bit?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, so that's what happens when there's currently a drone already docked to a station because you can't have two drones docking at the same time. So what they do is they just queue up in the sky and just circle the station instead until they get a free slot.
Oh man, early days. This is the early days of drones.
Early days with beautiful programming art.
Hell yeah. Christmas time, apparently.
Yeah, this was during December, so that was like around the time we had the Christmas update as well. So what we're looking at here is the drones using the world grid in order to pathfind to their target destination. So as soon as they take off, you can see the red lines representing the path they take along the world grid. This is on our test map, however. So as you can see, the whole grid is just kind of flat. It's the same height. But if you were to do this in the actual world, all of these squares would have a different height representation with it.
Cool. And one thing that I've noticed as well, and maybe you can sort of talk about this, is they're not flying. They fly through the center points of the world grid, right? Like they don't cut across diagonal or anything like that.
Yep.
So
yeah, they do. Yeah, so they fly through the center, and the reason for that is because it's kind of hard in the corners. So if you build something right on the corner, it wouldn't really have any time to get to the proper height. So we instead try to stay away from the corners as much as possible to give it as much space as possible to get up to the correct height when it's flying. Yeah, so what we're looking at here is a very early version of the drone. I think it's the first time we got the animations in for the docking and the takeoffs. So what we did is we basically set up a little docking sequence and takeoff sequence that plays when the drone flies. It just looks a little bit better when it interacts with the station that way.
So it's just an animation that plays when it gets to the right point?
Exactly, yeah. Instead of just like flying to the station and then stopping there without anything fancy happening, this just makes it look a lot better.
Damn.
There you go. It travels up to the world grid and to its destination.
And then this is just running another animation, I guess?
Yeah, exactly. So you can see it starting right there. And it has a timer as well.
What's the timer for?
So the timer, this is just basically behind the scenes information that we can toggle on, so we can see what's going on. But it's just so we can see that it takes, it doesn't get stuck. So we can see that it takes the correct amount of time to dock, for example.
Okay. Nice. All right, one more vid.
So what I'm demonstrating here in this video is when you're building inside the world grid, it actually updates the height of that cell. So as you can see, it increased the height of that square.
Yeah.
And yeah, when you dismantle things, it reduces back to the normal size as well.
Easy peasy. Okay, so that's everything pretty much. Yeah, so thank you very much, Tobias, for hanging out and giving us the information. I hope you had fun.
I know I did.
All right. See you later.
Bye.